Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast again. Okay, I get this question a lot, and this has actually been something that's near and dear to me because I started out, writing for the school newspapers or the school, magazines, and it was such a great time. I remember in college, I used to write for the school newspaper, and it was such a big deal, to be able to have an influencing voice over, people that would read that particular publication. And, I got asked the other day about print and where the future of media is, and this digital age that we live in. And I gotta tell you, it's definitely been hard to see the decline because I'm definitely a book in hand type of person. I love books. I love the way books smell. I know that may seem kind of weird, but I love the way books smell when you buy them, especially older books. I have some older copies of, books that are no longer in print anymore and things like that, and it's just amazing to be able to open the book and smell the age of the book. Does that make sense? But anyway, we're having a discussion about this, and in the industry, and this is with other industry folks, and what people have to realize is that print media, it's not so much that, this was the question that came up, is print media obsolete? And quite honestly, print media is not obsolete, but the fact remains is that digital is the way to go. Digital is always going to be the way to go, at least going forward. Now digital has become the top spot. Advertisers are going for digital, advertising spots much more than they go for print. Print does have some pluses to it in the fact of recall. When people see the pictures, on paper, they can recall different things. And if you're an advertiser, that could, be your thing. But there's been such a steady decline, and I'm going to read some of these stats. And I think people that really are getting into any type of new media game needs to understand where best to put their dollars. And, for me, who came up in the paper world, I came up in reading USA Today and these different publications, finance publications and things like that. These were things that, we grew up reading. A lot of us grew up reading this, reading the newspaper from cover to cover. This is just what it was. And you had a few magazine subscriptions on top of it, and that was the world. But over time, it became bulky. It became extremely expensive. Printing in color for a magazine is wildly expensive. And also, I remember when all of the newspapers were black and white, and then they decided to start doing color on the front page, and also doing color in the front pages of each section. So if it was the lifestyle section, the food section, crime, or whatever it is, they would have the different things in color. But I tell you, print is dying out so fast, you would want to put your money where the engine is, and the engine is definitely on the digital side. So let me give you some of these stats here. Are print newspapers dying? In the United States, from 2005 to 2021, about 2,200 American local print newspapers closed, which is insane to me. That's just in this country. That's not even counting around the world, right? From 2008 to 2020, the number of American newspaper journalists fell more than half. You don't really need journalists who are writing for individual newspapers as much anymore, mainly because it's so easy to just go live, online. If it's CNN or MSNBC, go live online from said, locale, and you are actually getting the story right then and there, right? You don't usually come back and say, oh, now we're going to write up a whole workup behind it. It used to be that before the digital age became so sophisticated, you would go and investigate the story and then come back and write about it. And now you can go straight to the source and see what's going on in real time, right? And even if people are going to write something up about it, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be digital, right? So there has been a serious decline of the newspapers, and I just want to read this passage. The decline of newspapers is an example and means of which to understand and observe the changing values of a culture. Whether newspapers are declining in popularity is region dependent. Data supports that in the United States and Europe, popularity and sales are indeed wavering. In these regions, industry is facing slumping ad sales, the loss of much classified advertising. Remember the classifieds? People don't even hardly do that anymore. And the precipitous drops in circulation. So what that really means is that people are not doing the classified ads. You remember the classified ads in the back? That used to generate a lot of money. And the fact that it's dropping in circulation, it means that nobody is really ordering print to come to their home. It's a very niche market now, Periodicals are a very niche market these days, and a lot of times they are doing seasonal magazines. They're no longer going once a month anymore. So even with your seasonal magazines, you're talking only 4 times a year. So it's like the big blockbuster, Vogue magazines or Bride magazines, all this sort of stuff. But, it's very rare to see monthly magazines anymore that have a lot of information. Sometimes they're so thin they can't even sustain. And I believe even Essence magazine now is coming out only 6 times a year, and that used to be a monthly magazine as well. So we know that this is what's happening. So when people are try as they might, try to revive the paper, it's going to be very hard to do so because everything we look at on our phones and our tablets, and this is what's driving that. It's so much easier and convenient to hit this from the digital space, So as I go on in this, America saw the loss of an average of 2 newspapers per week between late 2019 and May 2022, leaving an estimated 70 million people in places that are already news deserts and areas that are a high risk of becoming so. Prior to that steep decline, newspapers' weekday circulation had fallen 7% and Sunday circulation had fallen by 4% in the United States. All right, this is the greatest decline since 2010. If the trend continues, a third of newspapers will be lost by 2025, according to the 2022 study published by Northwestern University. To survive, newspapers are considering combining and other options, although outcome of such partnerships has been criticized. Despite these problems, newspaper companies with significant brand value and which have published their work online have had a significant rise in viewership. So, if you are a person who does have print, you better make sure that you have online happening. And you may want to, have like a what do they call it? Like a gate, have certain things for free. And this is what the Times does online. And I think like the Washington Post does this as well. You get some articles for free, and then you have basically like a gate online. And if you want to go further, you then have to pay a subscription fee online to see things further. Okay, so I hope this gives you some insight to the decline of periodicals, of newspapers and magazines and, things like that. And trust me when I tell you, going into the digital space is going to be a win. It's going to be a huge win. We're never going to say that, print is done forever. There's always going to be some form of print. But in the professional space, when you're talking about dollars and where you want to put your ad dollars and where you want to put your money as far as building out the framework for a print copy of something, you definitely want to come to the table ready to speak about the new media aspect of things. And that's digital. It's absolutely digital. So be wary where you put your dollars. Be smart about how you spend your money, and get your things running on digital, and I promise you, you will see great return in that. Okay? All right, you guys, that's all I have for you today. Like, share, subscribe to this podcast, and connect with me over on Instagram at Onyx Queen Media. Talk to you soon. Bye. Online savings simplified. Don't search for coupon codes ever again. With one click, Honey's smart shopping assistant will automatically apply discounts to your cart in seconds. Save on all your favorite things. Easily pay less for products you're already buying online. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Join Honey for free. It takes 2 clicks to add Honey to your Chrome, Safari, Firefox, or Opera browser. Find savings in seconds. While you shop, Honey will find working promo codes across the entire internet, and you save instantly. With one click, Honey will apply the best deals to your cart. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Get Honey. Download it today. Visit our link, www.tinyurl.com/ONYXHONEY. That's www.tinyurl.com/Onyx Honey. Start saving right now.